everyone, this is Pico Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have another video for you, and we're going to talk about Shazam Fury of the Gods and report on its opening weekend box office performance. Now there could potentially be spoilers throughout for the movie itself and also others within the current DC Cinematic Universe, so just beware when going into this overall video, and you can check out both my non-spoiler and spoiler reviews of the film, and I will leave some links within the description. So we then go on to the box office numbers, and it was not good news at all for the DC sequel, only managing to gross around 30.5 million in its opening weekend within US cinemas. Whilst claiming the top spot, this has been overall a 25% drop from the first film, which debuted back to 53.5 million in 2019. It also represents the worst DC opening for the universe. We discount the Suicide Squad in 2021 as that was released day and date streaming with HBO Max. Now internationally, Shazam has grossed around 35 million for a total of $65 million globally. So it's one thing not to hit $100 million in the US in your opening weekend, but not to achieve that total worldwide. Now that's not good news at all. And it's as clear as day that it won't get anywhere near the 366 million gross of the first film. And it is yet again another low point for the current DCU or the Snyderverse, as we see it coming towards its end. Now there's been lots of discussion as to why the movie underperformed. One of the biggest reasons overall is that the setup just wasn't anything exciting or interesting. The Daughters of Atlas didn't promise anything dynamic or exceptional in terms of protagonists, and to be fair, Lucy Liu and Helen Mirren are much more of aged personalities, so they weren't really extremely spectacular in their overall appearance, which would have been able to draw casual audiences to this film. And also the fact that there was no real compelling challenge as to what they were trying to do. Again, this failed to attract audiences to the film. Now we do talk about the promotion, and the movie really was marketed poorly, not really giving audiences any real sense of the main story or narrative. It didn't showcase any of the Shazam family as individuals with special abilities. There was nothing here distinct about their personalities. They just came across as a standard team being led by Shazam. Now some have blamed the film's very kid-friendly tone as it alienated some more adult audiences, but I don't believe that to be the case, because the first film also had the same tone and that performed very well at the box office. If anything, the more family-friendly orientation would have opened the film to far wider demographics, as both younger and adult audiences could both go and see the film. Now for all of the first film's surprise success, Shazam as a character didn't really have the same crossover effect as, say, Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman when that was released in 2017. Nor does the character have the same devout following on social media that what we saw with Henry Cavill's Superman. If we really think about it, this is the first time that we've seen the character ever since 2019 with his first film. So if we draw comparisons to Doctor Strange, who had a 6-year gap between his first film in 2016 and his second film in 2022, but he still appeared in multiple movies such as Thor Ragnarok, Infinity War and Endgame, and also No Way Home. So he still had a consistent presence despite not having his own sequel. But we haven't really seen Shazam since, so there's really been no momentum in terms of the character, no prolonged interest. Nobody was asking what is Shazam up to when we were watching the overall Zack Snyder Justice League. And this is probably more the fault of the DC Cinematic Universe itself, not having that same cohesion or consistency that what we saw with the MCU, where again Shazam could have had multiple references or appearances throughout television shows or movies, just really to remind the audiences that he is still around and still very much prominent. Now the performance of the film will raise the question once again about comic book movie fatigue, and I've always said that if the quality is good, then there will be no fatigue. At the end of the day, all audiences want is a good film. Now yes, you will have more hardcore fans who will point out regarding faithfulness to the source material, but at the end of the day, if the movie is good, then that will transfer over to audiences. Now whilst I didn't have many issues with the film itself, obviously a lot of people did. And again, any negative word of mouth is not going to help the movie perform, whether it's in its first weekend or whether it's in its last. And I just want to debunk the suggestion that has been made recently amongst content creators that the MCU has really caused the fatigue in terms of superhero movies, and that DC films have felt the impact of that. So essentially you're blaming Marvel for the fact that the DC films have underperformed. And this is simply not the case. At the end of the day, if the DC films are underperforming, it is because either they are bad movies or the fact that they are not translating these characters well enough to the big screen as what they felt they have. At the end of the day, these movies have not done enough to translate towards mainstream and general audiences that they feel that can go to these films and enjoy the characters and their performances. One of the most standing achievements within the MCU, is that it made their characters within their franchises likeable and appealing. So even if the movie was average, people would still be excited to go to see where their favourite character would go next. But that hasn't been the case with the DCEU. For the majority of their characters, they have proven to be very divisive, especially when we talk about Henry Cavill's Superman. The fact is, general audiences have gone to watch these characters and don't feel that they resemble what they truly should be standing for. And if you have that reaction amongst general audiences, that's going to translate all the way through your entire universe. And of course, the fact that James Gunn will indeed be rebooting the universe does lessen the importance or the must-see value of this film. Why would audiences be invested in this film if they know that the universe is going to be rebooted in the next upcoming years? Now, whilst many people could say that films should be able to stand on their own, the fact is that a lot of modern day audiences today, they want that sense of a continuity. They want that sense of a universe, something where they watch one film, there'll be something there to make them enthusiastic for the next chapter, the next installment, the next movie. And that's just the way it is. And unfortunately, the DC cinematic universe had none of that to make people excited for this next Shazam installment. So we will wait and see overall in terms of the second and third weekend as to how well this movie will perform. At this stage, it will do very well to reach the $200 million mark. Again, that is very much of a disaster, even more so than what we saw with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which again, we have to confirm now is definitely a flop. And this does raise the biggest statement as to whether we are indeed coming to the end of the dominance of superhero movies. I will talk about that in a separate video. But in terms of Shazam Fury and the Gods, whilst I didn't feel it was a bad movie as what people made it out to be, the fact is, it is another black mark against the failing DC cinematic universe, and it probably is most likely that we will not see a third installment in its current iteration, although we may see Zachary Levi come back in a variant version of the character, especially if we go by how the end credits scene played out at the end of the particular movie itself. So not a good sign at all for Shazam or DC cinematic universe as it winds down in its current iteration in terms of the Zack Snyder era before going forward with the new era helmed by James Gunn. So there's my overall thoughts and feelings on the box office underperformance of Shazam Fury and the Gods in its first weekend. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think this is a good sign or a bad sign? Do you not think it matters because we are getting a rebooted universe in a couple of years? And do you think there'll be any further decline in interest in the upcoming movies within the DC cinematic universe with the likes of Blue Beetle, The Flash, and also Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and if you have any other further suggestions regarding any other movies, television series, or any other issues within the pop culture entertainment scene that you'd like to see me cover, then also let me know within the comments, and I will see if I can provide further commentary for you on that subject matter within the future. Please also hit and like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you very, very soon.